Hello and welcome to our Town Legal interview series where we interview people in the planning and development world. This week we are joined by Guy Bransby. Guy is currently the head of Central London Planning and Heritage and Townscape at Montague Evans, having previously worked for 17 years at Jones Lang LaSalle, including as National Head of Planning and Heritage. Hi Guy, how are you today?
I'm very well, Matt. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Good. Yes, very well, thank you. I'm looking forward to hearing all about your experiences and some points of your career to date. So I will go in with the questions. So first question is, what's been your proudest achievement of your career?
I'm very proud of what I do for a living, as will become apparent when we get into our discussion. But I suppose what I'm proudest of is, although I have a position of some responsibility, which naturally therefore comes with a bit of pressure and a bit of stress, I am told that I remain calm, measured, mild-mannered, and I did speak to friends, colleagues, ex-colleagues about how they viewed me, and they did say that they found me to be approachable and without ego and without arrogance, and someone with humility. And I suppose that's what I'm most proud of. I've sort of lived my career by two very simple theories. The first is that if you're kind, empathetic, and supportive, then people will want to work with you and work for you. And if you're positive, energetic, and hardworking, then I think clients will want to appoint you. And that's probably the proudest thing, which is that I've kept those personality and character traits.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That collaborative approach to working is certainly taking over the property and construction industries. So that was nice to hear about that from you. The next question is, what lesson or career lesson would you share with your younger self if you could?
My answer here is going to be surprisingly honest, actually. And given that I'm only 6 months into my career at Montague Evans, I'm hoping that no one from the company will be listening. But the truth is, I was never that academically bright, actually, at school or college. I was never at the top of the class. I was always somewhere in the middle. But I managed to be successful at school and then college and then into my career by working that much harder than anyone else, by being a real team player and really showing a bit of leadership ability. So I think if I could pass a lesson back to my younger self, I would say it's okay not to be top of the class. It's okay not to be number one. And it's all right that there are other people who are much brighter and sharper than you. But if you focus on those other qualities, you can still be successful in your working life. And I would remind my younger self of that.
Well, thank you for saying that. That validates my own experiences as well. It's always important to have a number of strings to your bow, and I think sometimes when you're at school, you don't always get told that. So hopefully that reassures a few of the juniors out there listening to this video. Now, thinking about along the lines of what sort of keeps you going in your career. As you've gone through your career and progressed through life, do you have any particular heroes that you've looked up to along the way?
Yeah, I'm going to just share with you two very quick anecdotes, but both of a very personal nature. And the first anecdote is going to be a quick tale about triumph over adversity, which is something that I live my life by. And the second one is an anecdote that really talks about a love for life. And the first one relates to my grandfather, whose name was David Bell. He sadly passed away about 30 years ago, but his story is one that's well known, actually. He's served in the Second World War. He was a sapper, and he served in what is now modern-day Libya in North Africa. And the role of a sapper was you were sent on ahead of the ground troops of the army to clear the minefields of explosive devices. And the way you did that is you literally, bent over the mines and used your fingers of your hand to try and defuse them. And there was a time that he was doing this in 1942 when the mine exploded, and it blew off his arms, it blinded him instantly and caused horrific injuries to his face and upper body, such that he was declared dead on the battlefield. And he was being carried off the battlefield by a couple of fellow soldiers when he came to, and he heard one say to the other, this one's gone, let's chuck him on the heap with the rest of them. He's clearly dead, and we'll go back and get someone else. To which he woke up, heard them say that, and he said to them, I'm not dead, I'm not ready to go yet. And he taught them how to bind his wounds to stop the bleeding. He sat himself up such that he survived to make it to a field hospital. And in that field hospital, the nurse that first received him to treat him was the lady that subsequently became my grandmother. So, they met and fell in love instantly. And he subsequently spent the rest of his life dedicated to rights for the disabled, rights for people who are blind. He did a lot of work for blind veterans. And he subsequently became an MBE. There's a statue of him in his home city of Edinburgh. And he was also on This Is Your Life. And quite simply is an amazing tale of triumph over adversity, and frankly, a hero of mine. And then the second anecdote is actually my wife, Emma, who had a horrific accident about 5 years ago, such that she was rushed into hospital for an emergency operation, which she actually died on the operating table, but came round and they revived and saved her. And she's thankfully still with me today. But I did say to her, in the moment when you'd gone, what brought you back from the dead? And she said, I was enjoying life so much, I didn't want it to stop. She said, I love life and I've got plenty more years to enjoy. And so that's, again, a quick anecdote that talks about a love for life, which, again, keeps me going and really actually puts life into perspective. And especially at moments like now, with the 18 months we've all just had, it makes you realise actually there are some things that are a bit more important.
Thank you for sharing those two stories. That's very nice insight into what keeps you going. And as you say, through the recent circumstances, it's been really important to sort of lean on those connections and those moments that keep you going. So thank you for sharing those. The next question is career focused. How did you choose your career path, or was it one that chose you?
I certainly think it was one that I chose. My parents tell me that when I was a small boy playing with my Lego with my sister, while she would make spaceships or aeroplanes or cars, I always made tower blocks or housing developments. So they always knew I would be a planner from a very young age. And at school, the only subject I really enjoyed was geography. It's the only one I really excelled in. And that was the same when I carried on my studies in later years. So I always knew I had an interest in the built environment. I knew I had a passion for it. I knew I had a skill for it. So it was just a question of which facet of the property profession I would go into. Why property? Why planning? I think two things really. One, it's one of those few professions where you see something tangible at the end of it. You see a building from a sketch on a page right through to when it's built, and you can go and touch it, walk around it and enjoy it. But also it's about making a bit of a difference. I mean, a lot of the projects I work on are either private sector developments that fund community projects or affordable housing or new schools, and that is a really important part of giving back and improving the community. Or it's public sector projects, new schools, hospitals, libraries, that sort of thing. And for me, that's incredibly important that we use our profession to improve the communities within which we live and work.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Seeing your work is always very nice, but also those concepts of placemaking and building communities is something that's definitely a draw to the planning and development world.
Definitely.
And the next question is, what is your favourite place?
Yeah, I've got a photo to show you, which I'll hold up to the camera, so hopefully this will work. But this basically marries up, my passion for planning along with my other passion, which is my release at the weekends, which is football. And I'm a Brighton and Hove Albion supporter. So what I'm holding up here is a picture of the Amex Stadium. Can you see that, Matt?
Yes, absolutely.
Which is in the village of Falmer, just outside Brighton. Now, I've got a season ticket to Brighton, so I go every home game, and I actually go to most away games as well. And not only is this a huge new building in an area of outstanding natural beauty in the Sussex Downs, which was a very well-known and long-running planning battle settled by John Prescott when he was the relevant minister, but is also where I go and sit every other Saturday, generally to be disappointed watching 11 men chased in the wrong direction after a ball, but it does give me a bit of a release. So I think the question was, what's my favorite place? I mean, it's the place I spend a lot of time. It's not necessarily always very happy though.
We should have discussed that question beforehand, because I'm a Palace fan.
Oh no!
It pains me a bit that you've shown that photo. But there
No
we go.
way. Do you know what? I'm even more pleased I've picked that picture than you're a Palace fan. And depending on when this recording goes out, I mean, of course, Brighton did score a last-minute equaliser against Palace only 2 weeks ago at the time we were recording this. So sorry about that.
That bit might get edited out, we'll see. And so moving on to more tasteful topics. Have you got a favorite book or a favorite record?
Yeah, I've gone with the book actually, and this is just to explain another passion of mine. So I'm a great believer in having a passion outside work, which is a bit of a counterbalance. So what is it that either gives you enjoyment, and I made reference to Brighton earlier as a slightly oblique example because it's mainly disappointment, but also a way of de-stressing, clearing your head, and getting away from work. And for me, that's running actually. So I use running as a way to keep fit. I use running as a way of offsetting some of my bad behavior the rest of the year. And I use it as a way to get out and clear my head. And I try and run a couple of marathons a year. And I try and do a few half marathons a year. And I'm up to about 15 marathons now. And therefore, the book I've chosen, and I've got a photo of the cover of the book, which I'm going to hold up for you, Matt, just so hopefully everyone can see that. And I'll just read that out in case that's not clear. It's a book called Survival of the Fittest. And it's by somebody called Mike Stroud. And it's a fascinating book because he ran 7 marathons in 7 days on the 7 continents of the world. 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents. And he ran that feat with Sir Ranulph Fiennes. They did it together. And clearly one of the continents they had to run across was Antarctica. So you can imagine, that wasn't easy. And what's fascinating about him, he's actually a doctor. And I've met him, and he's physically totally unassuming. He wears glasses like me. He's not very tall. By his own admission, he's a bit overweight, so he's not a natural runner, doesn't look like an athlete, but decided to push himself to the limit and see what he could achieve. And he ended up doing this absolutely phenomenal feat. And the book talks about his experience of running these marathons and the impact it has on the mind and the body from a medical perspective. And I've recommended it to lots of people. Lots of people have picked it up and read it and thanked me for recommending it. And I would say that is definitely a book I would recommend to anyone listening.
I always thought I'd like to be a runner. No, that's a really interesting other passion. So we've covered quite a few different things in this interview today. I think we are just about done there. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for sharing your experiences and for taking the time to talk with us today.
My pleasure. I'm sorry to share the anecdote about Brighton. But, other than that, hopefully you found that enjoyable.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Guy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.